Roll humps to all my fighting camels worldwide. I'm your quarterback, Hodge Malik Williams, and you're listening to the Orange and Black Podcast.
What's up, everyone? The 2023-2024 Campbell Athletics calendar has begun, and football is just a few days away as Campbell hosts number 4 William & Mary on Thursday night inside Barker Lane Stadium with kickoff set for 7 p.m. This episode is brought to you by the Kicking Camel Grill located at 174 North McKinley Street in downtown Coates, right up the road from campus. You can come over to the Kicking Camel Grill to enjoy their award-winning wings and burgers before or after any Campbell home game. Before we get started, be sure to subscribe to Orange and Black to get news updates, stories, and behind-the-scenes intel surrounding Campbell Athletics. You can sign up for free or log into a paid subscription to get exclusive access to the Orange and Black Discord chat, where we discuss Campbell Athletics every day and share behind-the-scenes info. Dylan, what's up, man? The sports season has begun. Football is right around the corner. How you doing?
Good, Andrew. Sports is right around the corner. College football season is in the air. It started with week 0 this week. Some good games that were on last night, and everybody's going to be starting Thursday with Florida and Utah playing on ESPN, and then we'll come right after that. So I'm excited. I think we've been waiting since June for this to roll on, and it caught us off guard.
Absolutely. The summer flew by quickly, and we are just a few days away from Campbell kicking off their season, their inaugural season in the CAA, and they will be challenged early as they welcome the number 4 team in the nation, William & Mary, to Barker Lane Stadium on Thursday. Dylan, let's jump into William & Mary. What are your overall thoughts on the Tribe? Obviously, they have a lot of talent coming back this year, and it's going to be a tough test for Campbell to open up the season and get their first true taste of the Coastal Athletic Association.
Yeah, this is we're getting thrown off the deep end here. There's no easy way into the CAA. William & Mary being ranked third, 3rd, 4th, 5th round there in the polls, and they deserve their ranking where they're at. This team is loaded with preseason selections, CAA selections, All-American selections. They are stacked. And this is actually a return game. Campbell played them last year to a semi-close game in Williamsburg. So this is a comeback game for the Camels, and William Mary right off getting into the quarterfinals and losing the number 4 seed Montana State. So and just taking a look at this team, it's both sides of the ball. They're returning a lot of upperclassmen, a lot of juniors, a lot of seniors to this team, and this team is stacked up and down the ball. So it should be a good test here for Coach Minner, and facing off against Coach London, who was won the finalists for the Eddie Robinson National Coach of the Year, which is the Coach of the Year for FCS. So this is going to be an interesting game. This is going to put us on the totem pole in terms of the CAA right off the bat.
Yeah, interesting that Campbell gets to play William & Mary the first game of the season. Normally, you don't open up with a conference opponent, especially of William & Mary's caliber. But as you mentioned, last year, Campbell traveled up to play William & Mary in Virginia. And when Campbell made the switch to the Coastal Athletic Association, that game was already slotted on the schedule, so they just integrated that in. And Campbell gets to open up CAA play against William & Mary inside Barker Lane Stadium, so that should be a great test for the Camels. And, if you have to play the number 4 team in the nation, you would almost rather do it early in the season than later in the season when the Tribe can get things going and they get everything figured out but that can also go both ways for the Camels. So we'll see how the guys come out on Thursday night. Dylan, let's take a look at the offensive side of the ball for William and Mary. Who are some people to keep an eye on? Obviously, their quarterback, Darius Wilson Jr., is going to be somebody who is going to be a difference maker and will, kind of duel it out against Hodge Malik Williams on Thursday night.
Yeah, he returns from a really good 2022 season. It was a semi-dual threat quarterback. William Mary kind of put it as he has a really good release, and he's a really good decision maker, and he's going to get the ball out pretty quickly. So we're going to have to be on our toes. Probably a lot of press coverage is going to happen because he's going to be looking to get the ball out of his hands really, really quickly. But it's going to be led by their senior running back, Bronson Yoder. He's on the Walter Payton Award watch list. Campbell fans are all too well with that watch list, with some former Camels being on that watch list. Preseason FCS All-American selection. And last year, he was top 20 in FCS yards, touchdowns, yards per game. You name it, his name was all over it. And the coaches described him with tremendous vision and an outstanding ability to gain yards after contact and breaking a lot of tackles. He's a small, compact dude. I was looking at him. The first person to come to mind was an Austin Eckler type. He doesn't catch the ball a lot out of the backfield. They have another running back that kind of does that in Malachi Amoa. He's kind of their catch out of the backfield running back. Bronson Yoder is the thunder, and the Amoa is the lightning in terms of that running team. So you're going to see a lot of Bronson Yoder, and I think wherever Yoder goes is wherever William Mary goes, because they have their wide receiving core is a little bit younger. A lot of their guys left, but they returned a lot of guys. It's going to be led by Deshaun Kendrick, who's a junior. JT Mayo is also a junior. They were playing a lot in the kick return game last year, but they're going to become the number one targets for Darius Wilson this year. And then the two-headed kind of attack at tight end, Colton Turner and Trey McDonald. There are going to be a lot of blocking tight ends, kind of your Rob Gronkowski esque for William Mary. You'll probably see a lot of two tight end packages with William Mary, so they can give Bronson Yoder more people to block for him. And then their offensive line, it's up there. 3 seniors, 2 juniors this year. They were top 5 in the CAA, many offensive line categories, and it's led by the junior Charles Grant, preseason All-American, and he's looked at on many charts for NFL prospects in the making. So this offense is going to be a lot to handle. It's kind of there isn't really any weakness, and if there is a weakness, it's that wide receiver. But that's barely any weakness. So I think this is going to be a big running attack. And then once they get Campbell kind of in the box, you get Darius Wilson who could throw the ball as well. He had 16 touchdowns last year, but he also ran the ball a couple times. So this offense is going to be a lot to handle.
Yeah, on Thursday night, it'll be a battle of experience versus the youngsters in Campbell, as Campbell has brought in yet again another great recruiting class, the top FCS recruiting class in the nation. And, for Coach Minner, it'll be about being able to get those guys gelled together. There's a lot of talent on the roster, but, early in the season, you have to get all those guys moving in the same direction, and we'll see how that plays out on Thursday night. As you mentioned, on the offensive side of the ball for William and Mary, not a lot of weaknesses, but if you had to point at one spot, it would be the wide receiver room. A lot of people nationally who have been talking about this team, they're saying they did lose a lot of talent at the wide receiver position, but when you're the number 4 team in the nation, it's more of a, you're not rebuilding, you're just reloading and kind of swap new guys in and go from there. So we'll see how Campbell's defense, led by C.J. Tillman at the linebacker position, will be able to handle that offense on Thursday night. Dylan, on the defensive side of the ball, I mean, if you hear anything about William and Mary and their upcoming team, it is about John Pius, who is the leader of that defense. He was the only FCS linebacker to be on the Butkus Award watch list, which is pretty impressive considering everyone else on that list is going to be an FBS player heading into the season. Also a consensus preseason All-American. I mean, this guy is going to be everywhere. You could see this guy playing on Sundays after he leaves William and Mary. But let's touch on that defense a little bit, Dylan. Led by Pius. Who else, along with him, do you see being the leaders of those defense and for Campbell to be able to watch out for on Thursday night?
Yeah, he's the big name that everybody's looking for. But this team, from defensive line to the D-backs, preseason All-Americans, all CAA, preseason members, and it kind of starts down low. Nate Len, who's a senior, he's on the Buck Buchanan Award watch list, preseason All-American, and could be an NFL prospect in the draft coming up next year. He's got 20 sacks in his career, and he can get to the ball pretty quickly. So he'll run to the defensive line. They're only returning one starter, and that is Nate Len. They have a lot of guys who were on the reserves who got time but did not start last year. So a lot of new faces on the defensive line, but it's going to be led by Nate Len. And then if you look at the outside linebackers, like you said, it's gonna be John Pierce. He's only a junior, which is scary enough. But he's got two guys beside him: Alex Washington, who's also a junior; Christian Ham is also a junior as well. When I look at John Pius, I got the Bradley Chubb comp, which you know all too well. Being in that Raleigh area. So that's what I got from him. He's kind of the leader of the defense. So you're going to see him being that guy who's kind of make sure that the defense is all set and ready to go. And he's going to get after the QB. He's going to be in pass coverage. He's going to do a lot of different things. Inside linebackers, they got 4 upperclassmen, led by Kevin Jarrell, who's the captain. He's going to move inside this year, was outside. He also came when he came to William Mary, was also a QB. When you see a lot of QBs that switch to the defensive side, that leads to a lot of great attributes because they know what the defense is going to be looking for, and they kind of got that QB mindset. So that's gonna be really good. They also have Isaiah Jones, who's a junior, is gonna be starting at Mike linebacker. William Mary kind of put him as the mastery of the defense, which that would be a good comp if you ask me. And then the DBs, you have a lot of upperclassmen who were on reserve or came back. But it's going to be led by Ryan Poole, who's a senior, preseason All-American, 2-time All-CAA selection. He was 3rd last year in pass defending. William Mary says he's a great man-to-man coverage CB. He's also a captain. And alongside him, he's got Jalen Jones. He was last year CAA Defensive Rookie of the Year. He was also 8th last year in the Jerry Award voting. He was also a freshman All-American selection. And William Mary says he's good at everything. He's good at coverage, good at run. So you're kind of see him all over the place. And then last but not least, Marcus Barnes, who's going to be kind of back there roaming in the safety position. Preseason All-CAA honorable mention. He's ranked 2nd last year, tackles and interceptions. And he could play all over the place. So you'll kind of see him roaming behind in safety, or he could be a cornerback if they need him. So this defense, in all 4 or 5 phases of the defense, they're going to have upperclassmen. They're going to have preseason All-Americans, guys who can make Hodge Malik Williams' night a little bit difficult. So Hodge Malik Williams is going to have to use that veteran instinct with this defense. Probably got to get the ball out quick and sharp to carve up this William Mary D.
Yeah, for the Campbell offense, the key to success will be holding on to the football. Last year when Campbell traveled up to play William and Mary, Hodge Malik Williams had a career-high 3 interceptions. Obviously, this is not something that you want out of your starting quarterback, but as you move forward, you have another year under your belt. Hodge Malik Williams seems to be healthy and ready to go this season, which is something that he has struggled with in past seasons. So if he can be healthy, make some good decisions, that'll lead Campbell in the right direction. And, if you kick off the season against the number 4 team in the nation and get that win, you're really going to put yourself on the map. Some people nationally have already been touting the Camels as Campbell received votes in the AFCA coaches poll whenever they released their initial top 25 polls of the season. So Campbell's already getting some national love. And Dylan, if you can pick up a huge top 5 win to start the season, I mean, that hype is only going to continue. Let's talk more about some other accolades for some Campbell players that have come out in recent weeks. In our last podcast, we touched on Mike Edwards, who, was getting a lot of love nationally. He was recently named to the Reese's Senior Bowl watch list alongside with Isaiah Green, who is a transfer on the defensive side from Central Connecticut State. So that's another name you can keep an eye on the defensive side of the ball on Thursday night and as we transition into the season. Dylan, do you have any other thoughts on this William and Mary team or what Campbell needs to do to pick up a win on Thursday night against the Tribe?
Yeah, I think Campbell needs to come out, and I think we talked about before this podcast is going to be they're going to have a lot of pieces that coming in that they're going to have to figure out really quickly and gel together really, really quickly. This is not a game where they're going to give you 1 quarter to gel, because William Mary 1 quarter, you can be down 25 real quick. They're not going to give you time to gel. So CAA didn't give us any favors with a lot of transfers. And so hopefully this team was able to gel during the summer months and practices coming in. So I think Hodge Malik's going to have to be efficient. Defense is going to have to be on their game. And I mean, this team's not going to be new to them. Probably one of only a couple teams that's not going to be new to them this year. So they've seen a bunch of these guys already. And I think Hodge Malik Williams is going to be looking over the tape from last year, kind of seeing what he did wrong, and then hopefully fixing those mistakes this time around. We have a shootout in Bowie's Creek.
Yep, it'll be a good one on Thursday night as Campbell welcomes number 4 William and Mary into Barker Lane Stadium. You can go ahead and get your tickets at gocamels.com. Also, as a reminder to all the Campbell fans, you can watch all the home football, men's basketball, and women's basketball games on Flow Sports. Every single one of those home games will be streamed on Flow, along with a multitude of other sports that Campbell sponsors. Campbell has already launched their stream for they've had a couple home soccer events, and we'll touch on those as we move forward in the podcast. But overall, the stream quality is really good, as you would expect from the amazing team over there in the athletic departments, and then the campus IT, audio-visual department. They're really awesome, and just a great product that you can log on and watch all the Campbell home events and all the Campbell road games this upcoming season. We'll include a link in this podcast description where you can go online and get your full year of Flow Sports subscription for just $99. That pretty much comps out to be the same price as the ESPN Plus plan that we saw in previous years. So you're able to watch all the Campbell home events and all their away events as well on Flow Sports, and you can pull that up on your phone, on your TV. It's pretty easy to kind of navigate around. Dylan, we touched on those other sports. What has been going on for the Camels in men's soccer? Women's soccer has started. Volleyball kicked off their season this weekend out in Colorado. But we'll start with men's soccer.
Yeah, men's soccer started on Thursday. They hosted South Carolina right off the bat, SEC opponent. They drew 1-1. It was a pretty good game, up and down. Campbell played really, really good. South Carolina, SEC opponent, Power 5, always a good opponent. So looked pretty good. Tie against an SEC opponent at home at Booze Creek, always a great thing. So they drew that, and then their next game is actually tonight. Davidson in town at 5:00. So hopefully everybody will be there cheering on the guys as they take on Davidson.
Yeah, the guys tested themselves early, as Dustin Fonder often likes to do with his non-conference slate. The Camels did tie 1-1. And, just a great way to come out of the gate and really challenge yourself. Campbell is going to be challenged as they move into CAA play. It's going to be a lot different than the Big South when you have one or two teams that you're competing with. When you're looking at the Coastal Athletic Association, every team top to bottom is going to be good. And as Chris Haymeyer and Ever Butteridge touched on in their Camel Call podcast, in the Big South, you had some teams that were you kind of knew going into the season like they were going to be great because in the Big South you had a lot of teams investing heavily. You saw that in the likes of Coastal Carolina and Liberty in the past in the Big South. Obviously, some more big spending schools, they saw the success, and then they went on to another conference. Campbell the same way. You saw an extra dedication to the athletics program, and you were able to see that success in the Big South. In the CAA, you got a lot bigger schools, a lot bigger budgets, and you just have a lot more competition throughout. So it'll be definitely interesting to see how this men's soccer team performs. This year, Hofstra is going to be a team to keep an eye on as well. And then I'm really looking forward to, across all sports, some more close-knit regional rivalries like UNCW. You have Elon, which will be in every sport, including football, which – in the past is something that Campbell has not really had. It's just a great rivalry. There's a little bit of beef with High Point, but, High Point didn't have a football team. So you're going to get some more great rivalries being able to be produced there. And Campbell will start out, on the football side on Thursday night against William and Mary. But on the women's soccer side, Campbell picked up they opened up the season with a 2-2 draw at High Point. They could have opened the season with a win. They kind of fumbled that away at the end, but still a great test. As we talked about, High Point was one of those teams that was at the top of the Big South year in and year out, and Campbell's able to open up the season with a 2-2 draw there. They followed that up with a game at ODU where they dropped that one 2-0. And then on Wednesday night, what a great outing for the women as Campbell led 1-0. Radford came back to tie it up. And then in the 90th minute, Amber Liston, the senior, was able to bury the game-winning goal with less than a minute to play, which was awesome. The ladies are currently playing right now against ECU as we record this podcast. And as I pull up the live stats currently, Campbell is down 1-0. But it's something to keep an eye on, and just the ladies to keep an eye on all season as they move forward. Dylan, what are your thoughts on the women's soccer team?
Yeah, they kind of had everything this week: a tie, a loss, a win, an absolute game-winning stunner by Amber Liston. That was a great goal. So they had a mixture of everything. It's like they never left the Big South and two Big South opponents this week. So they will move to the CAA here shortly. So it's kind of a roller coaster, a lot of highs, a lot of lows, especially with the ODU, and then the absolute stunner on Wednesday. So, and then currently losing 1-0 to ECU in the 59th minute. So, it's going to be a lot of everything this year, it seems like, from the women.
Yeah, exciting times along with the men. It's going to be a competitive conference in the CAA for the women's team. We'll transition over to volleyball. They started their season out in Colorado. What a beautiful place to visit this time of year before it gets too cold and there's snow everywhere, and before Coach Prime and Deion Sanders kick off their football season out there. The ladies opened up on Friday night against North Texas. They had a hard-fought game. They ended up dropping that match 3-2, but took North Texas to the very end. On Saturday, they faced the host of the tournament, Colorado, where they dropped 3-0. Campbell was pretty competitive in 2 of those sets, but kind of in the middle there, they kind of ran away from them. And it's hard to bounce back, especially when you're on the road against a Power 5 school, RIP to the Pac-12. And then just recently on Sunday afternoon, they dropped a 3-1 decision to UNLV. Dylan, I was able to watch a little bit of the matches over the weekend. Did you get a chance to look at the volleyball team?
Yeah, I got to take a look at them, see how they were. That North Texas won back and forth until the very end. I think the ladies stuck in there pretty well, but it's all the way in Colorado. 2 different time zones, 2-3 different time zones. So that's a hard transition. And then when you play the hosts and Power 5, like you said, RIP. Pac-12, now Big 12 will be next year, Colorado. That's just hard being in an arena like that against the host. And then they played their hearts out against UNLV. I think the final set went like 28-27. So they fought all the way to the end, but they lost 3-1. So tough start for the ladies. But I think a good experience factor for them heading to Colorado on the road, Power 5, and facing a lot of good teams out there. I think it'll pay dividends towards the back half of the season.
Absolutely. And the ladies are back in action on Thursday at East Carolina. They'll be in another tournament there where they face off against ECU, Appalachian State, and Bethune-Cookman. So a little bit closer to home for the ladies. You don't have to get on a plane and fly out to Colorado. But a chance to bounce back there. And then Campbell's first home match of the season is on Tuesday, September 5th, as they host North Carolina Central. Following that, they'll have a 3-game tournament that they are hosting, and that will feature San Jose State, UTSA, and Georgia Southern. So upcoming, you have a lot of chances to catch the ladies if you're in the creek. And, sports are back. There's a lot going on. It's an exciting time. Football is back in action on Thursday, and, you have soccer, both soccers and volleyball sprinkled in there. So a lot of chances to catch some Campbell sporting events. Dylan, it's good to have it all back and to be able to just sit on the couch and watch some sports again. What else do you have in mind as we look forward and continue the fall sports season?
Yeah, I mean, there's just for the people who are in and near the creek, if you want to check out any Campbell sports, pretty much any day of the week, there'll be something at home. So go check it out and make sure you guys get in there. There's a lot of great sports that are going to be happening. A lot of great teams, like you said, San Jose State and a couple other teams coming to the creek later on in the September. You got men's soccer starting CAA action next Saturday. Women's soccer. You got even cross country going to Elon. So, and they're going to have some home meets or close to home meets as well. So, if you guys are begging for Campbell sports, there's going to be plenty of them in September. And make sure you guys get to the football stadium on Thursday and watch hopefully a great football game between Campbell, newly looked Campbell, and William.
Yeah, Dylan, let's touch on that. The new look Campbell. Campbell football released their new helmets for the upcoming season. Pretty slick look with the new logo. It looks great on the helmets. Personally, I do like the black ones, but I think the white ones look pretty clean. So we'll see what the Camels come out in on Thursday night. What are your thoughts on the new helmets with the new logo and branding?
Yeah, I think that was the first question we kind of all had whenever they released the logo is how is this going to look on a football helmet? And they look really, really good, really slick. I'm interested how it's going to look under the lights Thursday night and what they're going to come out with and kind of how the rest of the uniform is going to look. when they come out with the new kind of lettering and logo, how that's going to look like on a football. The soccers and the volleyballs look really, really good on TV. So I think our questions are answered in terms of transitioning from just an image onto a jersey. I think they did a really, really good job. So I have to shout out Hannah Bazemore and the whole staff at Campbell for coming up with this logo and making that image turn into reality on a jersey.
Yeah, and speaking of the new branding, I was able to get some insight talking about new courts and fields and stuff like that. Obviously, when you have the AstroTurf, that is a very expensive thing to install. And so for a lot of that, you're just going to have to wait for the lifetime of that turf to run out before we can install a lot of the new logos, which is, it's kind of hard to overhaul completely when you do something like that, especially when you have a lot of turf fields. And then the basketball court will remain the same for this season, but next year they will revamp it. They just didn't have enough time to sand all the floors down and get everything done. I was on campus on Monday, and they had recently installed the new CAA logos in the paint inside Gore Arena. So they had just done that. It was all taped off, and it looked good. So just exciting times as Campbell begins their reign in the CAA. Dylan, I apologize. I told you before we even got on the podcast that this is episode 11, and we were going to circle back and we were going to keep doing our, who's your all-time number 11 in Campbell Athletics. And I was so excited to start talking about football that we completely skipped by it. So if you want to go first, I'll let you talk about your number 11, or if you still need some time to think. I dropped this on you 10 minutes before we even started recording.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking in terms of the history of number 11s, and I actually came up with a name that I wasn't the first thing on my mind, but I kind of call him the first running back out kind of in the new era of Campbell, but Deshaun Jones. He was a really decent running back out of Greensboro. He was 2013, 2014. And he was kind of that all running back guy. He kind of held a lot of Campbell records until kind of we got some more guys in there. But the modern era Campbell records started with Deshaun Jones. And I remember getting there as a freshman at Campbell, and he was the guy. He did a lot of great things, especially in 2013, playing 10 games as a freshman. And he tallied 517 yards that year, which was 10th in Campbell single season history, obviously being new football at that time. But he had some Campbell records that still stand to this day. Great guy. I think I had some classes with him towards the end of my Campbell tenure. He's a great guy, funny guy, kind of the heartbeat of the team. So great guy, nice guy. But that is my number 11. Andrew, there's one more number 11 that I think I know who you're going to go with, but who are you going with as your number 11?
So I don't know if we're talking all-time greats here, but definitely someone who was there during our time we were in school was Ray Miller, middle linebacker for the Campbell football team. He was a part of the program when Campbell transitioned from the PFL into the Big South. And that was kind of a big turning point for this program as a whole. You think about, you go from playing Presbyterian and Davidson and Valpo and all these random teams where you can't have scholarships, and then you transition into the Big South where you're talking scholarship football, and then eventually that leads to where Campbell is now in the CAA, which is one of the top FCS conferences in the nation. My dog is trying to jump up here on me right now. But, you saw him as a staple of that defense whenever Campbell made that transition. And that's hard to do whenever you go from a team of, you have guys that you don't have scholarships, and then you mold into that, hey, we're bringing in more talent. We're bringing in all these new guys who are going to fit this new scholarship football mold. And he was still a staple on that defense and was able to help lead Campbell to some great seasons during his time here. and help with that transition. But Dylan, the sports season is here. College football started this past weekend. There wasn't a lot of great games going on, but I definitely sat down on the couch and watched a majority of them. But this upcoming week, Campbell football starts on Thursday, and we will have a full slate of college football games all throughout the weekend, which is super exciting and just a great time to be a Campbell fan, as all the fall sports will officially be kicked off starting this week. And Dylan, what are you looking forward to this week? And what are your predictions for Campbell against William and Mary on Thursday night inside Barker Lane Stadium?
I also want to say, I thought you were going with Bryce Arnold. Shout out to Mr. Canada himself, Bryce Arnold.
I'm in like football mode right now, but that would have been a great one, especially after he destroyed that baseball down in Columbia. That I about jumped through the ceiling whenever he hit that home run to the game.
Number 11 in our hearts, definitely. But shout out to Bryce Arnold, also number 11. But great on Ray Miller, really nice guy as well. I think this is going to be a very close game. To be honest, I think it's going to be a slug match. CJ Tillman's going to do a lot. And then shout out to George Wilson, former 5-star recruit at Florida State, coming to Campbell, trying to regenerate his career. I think he's going to be a menace to society on Thursday night. I think he's going to be up in Darius Wilson's face, trying to prove a point here at Campbell. I think this is going to be really close. But I have to give it to William Mary. Just slightly. I think last year the score was different than what everybody thought. But definitely this year, it's going to be a lot closer. I think Hajj Malik is going to be a healthy Hajj Malik. And I think it's going to be a slug match. So I wouldn't be surprised if the scores ended up in the 30s, but I think William Mary will just barely pull it out, but I think Campbell will definitely put everybody on notice and give them a scare all the way to the final minutes of the fourth.
I agree, Dylan. I think it's going to be close, but I think William and Mary will edge it out. But, it's just exciting to have football back, and we're excited to bring you lots of coverage this upcoming season. Everyone have a great week. Watch tons of Campbell sports. Enjoy college football being back, and we'll talk to you again next week. Go Camels.
Pressure's a privilege, man. We want to run towards that pressure. We don't want to run from it, and we want to enjoy that and embrace it and fight through the struggle of it.